I'm going to call this meeting to order. All trustees are present except for Ms. Sanchez, and Ms. Nahara says she'll be about 15 minutes late. So, is there any public comment for the board? All right. All right, young man, you're on.
Would you like me to read the item, Bishop?
Which one?
Item 4.1, Mr. Pablo Perez, Program Manager, ECM, will provide an update briefing on the progress of the Combined Revenue Improvement Bond Series 2016 program. Briefing items will include, but are not limited to, a general update, including schedule and budget for all 6 projects, as well as an overall bond schedule and budget update.
Now you're on.
Good afternoon, board members, Judge. We'd like to just let you know ahead of time that we made some few little changes in the format of the presentation, hopefully to make it a little clearer, particularly as it regards to schedule and also the action items. So we'll start with the project status of Mission Del Paso. It's doing very well right now. They're approximately 2 weeks behind, and they owe us recovery schedule at the end of the week. And we feel confident based on what they've indicated to us, what their plan is, we will recover, that they'll be able to make up those 2 weeks. This is the second floor. They poured this morning. All this area is being poured. Those stairs have been poured. There's some stairs behind here that they were pouring this morning, as well as this area. As you can tell, the framing is going up, and there's also some sheeting already going up as well. You can see the openings for the windows. Moving right along. Like I said, the process is about 2 weeks behind schedule. And one of the things that are changing is, rather than read all this, and for the sake of saving some time, this just goes into a little more detail of what the status of the project is. So if you have any questions, please do ask. Moving on to the new slide that we're going to have for all the projects now, regards project schedule. And we're doing this in an effort to make sure we're very clear where we are on the schedule, how it's progressing. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, because on one side we may be causing you concern, because if we tell you we're not as good as we are in good shape, but then just keep in mind this goes from month to month. But I think it's important that you'll understand at the time of the board meeting where we are schedule-wise. So y'all are very familiar with, just to summarize, go over it, just as a little bit of a refresher what this is about. This here indicates the notice proceed. It's when the college told the contractor, okay, this is when you start. That's the date they start. The next one is the board meeting. So this is when we meet. This indicates that's today's date. You can tell us about 28 August there. The green is how far we've gone, and the gray is how far we still have to go. Then comes the substantial completion date, which is when the people start actually moving in, and then there's the 30 days move in right here. And then this is, for a lack of a better term, is a buffer. It's the amount of time we have from when we're planning to be completely moved in to when actually the classes will start. And that's one of the things we want. Yes, sir.
Is this the original completion move-in date?
No, sir. No. It's not. As we get, and that's another thing that I will tell you in just a minute. That's one thing that I'm planning on doing is now, even if it's 2-3 days for weather, even little increases, I'm going to tell you every month.
How much has this been moved?
This one from Mission Del Paso, I believe their original date was November, 11.
So we're looking 2 months. You've moved it 2 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay, continue.
Yes, sir. And this is again when the semester starts. So another thing that I'm going to.
Go ahead.
Okay. Another thing I'm going to be telling you every month too is, again, even if there's a small increase in the time, let's say there's 2 days of weather that we granted, we're going to tell you. So we specifically going to tell, like, since last meeting was 0 calendar days, but we, like, say by next month there's another change order and we added 3 days. Typically I wouldn't even mention that to you because it's so minor, but we're gonna go ahead and start doing that.
And when are they gonna tell you they're gonna make up the 2 weeks?
Sir, by the end of the week, the part of the problem on Mission that we've been having is because there's a software the contractors use to schedule, which is Primavera, called Primavera. And we have Microsoft Project. And so they've been trying to, there's a way to export into that Microsoft Project, but it hasn't been working. There's a disconnect in there somewhere. So we're really want to drill in, so we want the electronic copy rather than a PDF, because a PDF you can go in there, analyze in logic, whereas if you have an electronic file, you can't.
So the next time we do this, we make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. I promise.
I don't know why we should be penalized 2 weeks because their program's not working.
And that's a fair statement. That's a fair statement. And typically, it depends to the degree that we want to drill down into the schedule. In this particular one, we're not so sure about the 2 weeks, and so we really want to drill down to make sure that it holds when you actually.
I have a question. Dr.
Yes, sir.
Strada?
No.
Had we planned on utilizing this facility prior to March of 2020? At any time, had we planned to use it?
In the initial, when we were looking at initially being done in November, and of course that was a year ago or so, that's when we were looking at possibly scheduling it for the spring of 2020. Since that date has been moved, we have
Okay.
not scheduled. We're
Yeah,
currently
right.
scheduling for mini-mesters.
We had a problem with this one too. Didn't get started when we wanted to start.
Yes, sir. It had a
Yeah.
lot to do, if I recall correctly, it had a lot to do with the county requirements and the permits and the fire marshal.
But it's looking great.
It is looking very good. They're doing a good job.
No, it's not looking great.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, not without 2 weeks still hanging over our head. It can't be great.
Well,
let me
As
actually-
soon as you tell us that you've got the 2 weeks taken care of, then we can tell Ms. Dr. Graham that it is great.
And I certainly understand that, but I'll
You
explain
don't need
just.
to tell me, I make up my mind when I go there every week.
Yeah, actually, to be perfectly honest, 2 weeks is not that bad. It really, given the amount of time that you still have, that's very, very catchable. The only thing, the reason I want to look at that schedule is we want to make sure it is 2 weeks, if that makes any sense. So that's the kicker. Something else I'm going to show to you is the calendar and how that works in the grand scheme of things as far as the schedule is concerned. So here we are right now, and all this in blue is the amount of time that they still lack in terms of construction. The red number is when substantial completion takes place. Then, after that, I should have made a little more contrast. It's a little hard to read. This is a little darker blue than that. These gives you 30 days for the final, which puts us at February 10th, which then gives us that buffer from the 10th to March 23rd. So in other words, let's say for argument's sake that we ended up being 2 weeks late and it's not their fault. Because right now if it's their fault, they have to recover. We still be okay because we got a month and about a week left. And given this, and that's leads into my next point is, I'm going to show you a chart that indicates our confidence level now for the designated semester. So, in other words, there's 4 factors that we take into consideration when we figure out what this chart is going to show you. The main thing here is that you understand that this might change from month to month, depending on the situation and on the actual schedule in the field. So there'll be 4 factors that we take into consideration. The first one is obviously the percentage completion. As you'll see, just for instances, Rio Grande, we're about 50% complete. There's a lot of time to go, so that makes us a little more concerned in terms of how much time we can make up, because the odds are there will be more changes in that year. This particular one, you can look at how many days between final completion and beginning classes. Like I mentioned earlier, you have a pretty good buffer there to get from should the need arise. Again, keep in mind that there's 2 kinds of delays. One, there's a delay because it's beyond the contractor's control or it's something we need to change. then those days, they're entitled to those days. If it's something, it's a delay because they can't find a crew or to do some work, then it's on them to make it up. Well, maybe they work on Saturdays, maybe they work Saturdays and Sundays to make it up, but it is their responsibility. Does that make sense? Okay. So then there's also any change orders. This kind of leads in on what I just mentioned. For instance, if there's a change order out there that's beyond, actually, we should be beyond the contractor's fault because that's why you have a change order, then if that change order, the activity for that change order impacts the critical path of the project, then yes, they will be entitled to some days. So when we look at this, we're looking, is there any change orders out there that have not been approved yet, but it could have an impact on this? And I'll go a little more into detail on the Via Verde as well when we get there, because that's one of the factors that's causing us a lot of concern. And finally, the schedule analysis. Typically, we do a pretty good schedule analysis in all the projects. If we have some real concerns that they might not be being very accurate, that's when we actually get the electronic file and really look at every activity and see that it makes sense within the logic of the program. So with this being said, hopefully you'll find it helpful and it'll help more or less understand where we are on schedule. Going back, it's the same thing in terms of the progress, the buildings versus actual buildings. There's still a pretty big gap in there. Of course, as they progress, as they catch up to that should go back up. Same thing with this. Actually, it's been a little bit fairly parallel there for a while, but it does need to start bending that way. Northwest is going very well. The contractor and their subcontractors are working very hard on this project. As you can tell, there's quite a bit of visible progress. This is the labs. You can see all the casework is already in there delivered. The ceiling grid is in there, all mechanically installed. The corners are already painting. So it's going to be a very, very, very nice looking building, and it still seems to us that they will be able to stay on track on it. And a good thing that we all may want to know is that the furniture has been ordered, if you recall, we approved it last time, as well as the equipment's already been passed on to the contractor. EPCC is now reviewing the contractor's list to verify that everything in there matches what their needs are. And now on Northwest, with this one we feel very confident that they will get done by January 24th. As you can tell, there's specifically November 4th. You give the 30 days, October 4th, I'm sorry. October 4th, you give the 30 days, it's November 4th. So you have this buffer of almost 3 months for occupying in January, but we feel pretty confident that they should be able to be pretty much done on November 4th. Northwest Campus, as far as the plan residential, I can see it's lacking a little bit, but it's still following the same curve from before. There's a little bit of a dip here. Going on to Rio Grande, they just they poured this floor, and now the next floor is scheduled for the 4th floor on the south side. On this side is scheduled for August 30th. It's really kind of encouraging now to walk through the parking garage itself, because now you can start seeing the parking levels complete, and it's not just a bunch of form work around. This is from their last floor right here. As you can tell, there's still a ways to go. Eventually, this volume here will be taller than this volume here. So you can imagine how tall that's going to be. Yes, sir.
The 4th floor is the top floor.
Top floor is the 5th.
5th floor is the top garage floor.
Yes, sir. And then 6 and 7 will be occupied.
So you've got,
going back to the schedule, big reason again, this one is leaning a little bit. We're fairly confident that if there's no more delays, that there's enough buffer space there till October 19th for the mini master. Obviously, the biggest concern right now is the fact that we still got another year to go. And a lot of things could happen in that year. So, as far as they're doing very smoothly, actually, this is one of the best projects in terms of progress of the building versus the structural activities. Yes,
You
sir.
have a scheduling program that shows what should be completed by certain dates, milestones, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you on that program?
No. As a matter of fact, so that's actually a good question, because there was, if you recall, they owed us a schedule last month, and they gave us a schedule, but there was some problem with the logic. They extended some of those dates into November 2020, and there was a mistake from their program, so we had to ask them to go back and redo the schedule, so it'll show.
Okay, on ECM's milestone schedule, it says that we should be midpoint fourth floor. Does that milestone program, I mean, are we there? I mean, right now, we're sitting the last of August. Where does your milestone program say we should be?
Yes, it's about right. They're planning right now, I believe, in February to finish the top floors.
No, I'm asking where we are right now.
We're probably, without having the schedule from
Uh-huh.
Demi's to say, we may be about 3 weeks, 4 weeks behind because of the pours. They've had to move around, but I can't tell you that until we actually have the schedule to analyze. That's just a gut feeling, to be honest.
Okay.
So hopefully, next month, we'll have something a little more definite on that.
I
And
think
part of
probably
the
more
problem-
than hopefully, won't it?
Yeah, well, part of the problem is all on these pours, if
Yeah.
they miss a day, then they miss 3 or 4 days. Does
Yeah,
that
I
make
know,
sense?
been there, I watched that. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so I understand that, but
That's not our fault.
we can't, one pour here and one pour there,
See, that's
3 days, 4 days,
That's a-
3 weeks, a
Yes.
month.
And that's
Not
why
gonna
they
happen.
need a recovery schedule also.
Let me say a couple things regarding schedule. It's been a challenge. It's been a tremendous challenge for us because the real schedule that counts, it's the contractors. That's the contractual schedule. And obviously, there's a remedy to the college, which is liquidating damages. If the construction company doesn't end on time, there's a remedy that nobody wants to use. It's called liquidating damages. Most of the contractors are locally are very poor schedules, very, very poor schedules. And if you work in different industries, oil and gas, for example, every moment matters. You have litigation and you have all kinds of things regarding schedule claims and the whole 9 yards. The industry here locally lacks that expertise as a whole. And so what we've been doing is we request a schedule on a monthly basis for payment applications. We get them and we reject it every month because the logic is poor. And we, as ECM, as project managers, we are not to provide a schedule for them. We can, because that would be telling them what their production should be. That's a means and methods, clearly means and methods situation. So we're pushing, we're pulling, we're screaming, we're yelling, we're sometimes cursing. And well, but it's a process, and you know, and you face this all the time with your own contractors.
So why don't we just not pay them and tell them to get their butts in gear?
Well, we could, and then we have a litigation, a claim of not payment, and then they will not finish on time.
Actually, that's
it's
it.
it's a problem because if we don't pay them, they won't finish on time.
But how can you pay somebody if they're not fulfilling their contract?
No, well, let me finish real quick, because they are not, we're paying them only what they've been producing, obviously. We pay them what they produce, we don't pay them ahead of time or anything.
Okay, so they're not coming in and saying that,
No,
we want our
no,
month, that we're
no.
behind
This
pay.
is just- The schedule that we're speaking of is a paper, it's a plan, it's a right plan for them to show us that they will be able to finish on time. And when we look into the logic, what we're talking about is, it's a technique of, it's called critical
CPM, critical
path
path
methodology, where it has to have a logic that you cannot pour that slab if your walls are not up, or your columns are not up, right? It's kind of that, gets a little more complex than that, but it's just a simple example. So we go in there and we view and we review, and it's wrong, and we show them and reject it, but again, they keep on working, and this, it's a challenge in the industry, local, spread out.
Let's put it this way. You're unhappy, we're unhappy. Next month, let's all be happy. Okay, now if you need to go hire an IT person to sit with them and show them how they need to work their CPM schedule. Matter of fact, I know a professor at New Mexico State that comes out and helps them with PERT. He's also in civil engineering, so you know, if they need a technical support.
It's a means and method. It's you
As long
cannot
as
do
you're
it
just
for-
not paying them for work they haven't done.
Absolutely.
You've answered
Let's just-
my
let's-
question.
And that's why those gaps show like that. If you go to the previous slide, or the previous one, there's always a gap, right? They had a projection, the blue is actually their projection, original projection of what they ought to be producing. And we're only paying them what they're actually making, and you see that difference.
Okay.
I mean, eventually they will catch up if they, and when we talk about recovery schedule, it's okay. You're
Well,
showing.
let's be happy next month then.
That's right.
Eventually,
But
they'll
we
be
cannot
done.
promise.
I think we should also keep in mind that we spend a lot of money hiring this company to oversee the project, so we can't micromanage them and tell them what to do and when to go save money.
I'm not
They're the
micromanaging.
ones
I'm just-
responsible for delivering, and then if at the end they don't deliver, then, you know, we've got issues with them.
I'm just making sure they're not paying them any
No,
money
no,
they're
we're
not
not.
supposed to have.
And I guess I just wanted to give you a little bit of time to explain the process, just as a, some of you already know, most of you already know. I just wanted to reiterate the challenge that we have, just as we explained the challenge of the lack of local construction resources out there and the subcontractors, everybody being too busy. It's just giving you that little bit of a background where what we're facing. That I shut up now.
So before you go on, Mr. Perez and Mr. Rivera, on Mission and Northwest in particular, you have between confidence and high confidence on them being ready for the designated semester. And I guess help me be more confident when Mission's planned to be at almost 66% done, and they're only at 44% done right now. So it's
You're
just
looking
gonna
at
pick
the-
up real.
You're looking at, we're looking at.
On Mission, I mean, I'm looking at the total plan complete versus the total actual complete.
But you're looking at the payments.
No, I'm looking at the.
That, no,
Keep going.
The estimate?
The one after this one.
that one.
Yeah, and that's in relationship to the payments.
To the payment. Okay.
Yeah, and what they've been able to prove us through scheduling is that they will have a pretty straight shot there where they're gonna catch up, perhaps in the last month or so. But they have a real good schedule, organized, and we're being able to go in there and
You feel comfortable.
Yeah, and feel confident. That's
I
part
mean,
of
and
it.
that one has 135 days till we are set. Northwest is similar to me, it's a 29% spread right now, again, actual versus plan. But they only have 37 days. So,
Just keep in mind that that's why this is an escrow too. because-
Understood.
Yeah. And it is strictly, these can be very deceiving.
okay. As Dr. Graham said, if you all feel comfortable, then I feel better.
Yeah, but see, they put the little thing back here, it's not a.
That's Rio Grande. Yeah, Rio Grande.
See, and they're the same, yeah.
And that one has a
That's
year.
the perfect example.
I'm just looking at your little arrow.
I feel much less confident on Rio Grande, yet it shows that just shows they're good at billing.
Exactly.
So at the Valle Verde, they're making good progress, unfortunately not as fast as they should, particularly on the critical path. This is gonna be a major issue as far as them finishing on time. It's probably the one we feel less confident about, and the reason is because number one, there's a lot of change orders out there that have a time impact. We've tried to negotiate with them some of those days. They're basically still not allowing us. But we have if you recall last time, we gave them 30 days to come up with a plan, and that meeting's gonna take place tomorrow. So this might very well slide the other way. Honestly, I don't think it will. They can't man the project. It's just right now this market is so saturated. They try to get a second fireproofer out there. the guys told them in a month, you know, because everybody's so busy. So it's not for a lack of trying, it's just they're really struggling with keeping up on track. And then again, there's those change orders that have time implication, and I say as part of the reason they don't want to budge on it is because they're gonna need those days. So this one is certainly on our radar as being one that it might be an issue. We'll know a little more tomorrow after we see what their plan is. And see, this one, actually, it's fairly good as well, yeah. So there's a lot of factors when you're considering this. So as far as Via Verde and EPCC, the classes have started. We did have a few hiccups where there was some certification, which by the way, they did it today, of a 4-post lift. We had to actually, this is the first time ever I approve a change order without knowing an amount. We had to hurry up and cut some slab, for use for support. It was a 4-post lift that Hunter, which is the manufacturer, wouldn't certify it unless, because there was a crack going through. Our engineer said there is no arm. Their engineer said there was arm. So in order to get certification, we had to do what they wanted us to do. They did it in a lightning time, with that being $2,600. And so we were able to get certified today. And to my knowledge, there's a couple of other hiccups too. There's a little bit of overheating from a compressor that they moved to the building. We're working on some solutions. So basically, in a nutshell, overall it's good, but there's a lot of little loose ends that still need to be wrapped up. And as far as Trans Mountain, classes have started as well. We'll leave it here. Jake, thank you so much. IT has been absolutely amazing. As far as thanks to them, they're always the last guys, and they always get compressed in time, but they were able to pull it off, and we're able to open the building. And as far as I know, again, there's some issues with the AV, the projectors, things like that being solved. I think there's like one sewing machine that needs to be replaced. Those kind of things, that's always going to happen, and it's certainly going on. But overall, it's been a good project, and to my knowledge, they're using it to the full extent of what they can use it for. So I think it's great. Going on to the safety update, again, no change in terms of reportable safety incidents. So it's been a tremendous effort by all the contractors. As far as the current schedule, I've already went through that, but this kind of summarizes it in one slide for all the projects. Overall bond budget update. So what I try to do here too is give you an idea how we're doing contingency. The ones in green, we're obviously doing real well. Here we are a little bit concerned with Northwest, and already talked to Ms. Chauncey about we might need some additional funding for that. The Trans Mountain was on red too, but what we did is, given that we're pretty much done with TTC, and there was quite a bit of funding left in there in the construction contingency, what we did was we took that number there, which now already accounts for the change, and we transferred $91,000 to Trans Mountain, which then this changed to 3% and allowed us to wrap up the loose ends at Trans Mountain right now. As far as the overall budget, going well. There's been some change a little bit in wayfinding. By the way, I can give you a quick update of what we're doing on wayfinding, but it's been a long time since I've actually talked to you about it. So we got Thinking Caps, which is the design company that did the signs. They're finishing with the design development package. Now what we're doing, we're working on the geotag for each, where the signs are gonna go to see what the soil looks like, and we're also getting surveys done at those areas. Once that's all done, then we'll have a full package, but it looks like we're gonna be comfortably on budget, at least from preliminary estimates. Action items. So one of the changes is to give you the action item in my front. This is the Mission Del Paso campus. LVT upgrade, which y'all, I'm sure y'all by now are very familiar with the term LVT. So So I don't think there will be many questions on that. But this is, so the way we changed format a little bit, we start with the proposed action item, so you kind of, when I go into the presentation, you already have an understanding of what I'm gonna be asking for. So in this case, we're asking an amount not to exceed 63,546 for the purchase installation LVT. We'll read the action item then again at the end for the approval. So right now, to put it in context, about a year ago, actually longer than that, June 12, 2018, that's when we got the quote-unquote bids, the proposals for the Mission El Paso project. At the time, as you can tell, we took 3 alternates. We took alternate 1, 2, and 5 when we accepted the contract from Flintco, the proposal from Flintco. Then we came back, and I think this started about 6 months ago or so, started talking. You know, the budget, as you can see in the contingency for Mission, is actually quite good. And so we came, well, what about if we took that alternate? Number 3, that time we rejected. So this is about 6 months later, so we went back to Flintco, which is the contractor, and asked him, well, will you stand by your $75,000? Because typically all these proposals are valid for 30 days. And they came back and said, oh, we actually can do better than that. Let me negotiate with our sub that we have on board. So they came back and say they can do it for 63,546, which is even less than any of these at the time. So it's pretty outstanding. So here's what we'd like to do. So we have the first floor here, and this is all the finished floors. The VCT, this is what's in the base contract. Right now we have VCT. And that VCT is this tan light color here, is mostly in the classrooms, computer labs, and then here in the kitchen too. So what we want to do is change that LVT. So all these areas you see here in tan will go from VCT to LVT. Same thing with the second floor. We go from LVT to VCT to LVT, all these areas. And all that is the $63,000. This is a classroom typical pattern from the architect. So the 75% would be the light wood frame, and the darker, it's kind of a darker gray with a little bit of brown in it. It's 25%, so that's the darker pattern there. And this is what the architect has planned. So as far as, and I took this from a website, but it pretty much mimics what I've known from the product, is that as far as look and style, you can replicate the patterns. In this case would be the wood pattern. And it is a lot from a design standpoint. It gives you a lot more freedom of doing pretty neat stuff. Durability and stability, it's definitely easier to clean and maintain. And a big one of this is when you go to the cost, is the reduced maintenance cost, because you don't have to wax these floors. You just mop it, and it's, of course, they last a lot longer than VCT as well. So initial cost is a little more. That's why we're having to pay an upgrade. But the long-term costs more than make it up by itself because of the quality of the product. For your approval.
Have a motion?
I make a motion we formally approve the proposed change order to Flintco LLC in an amount not to exceed $63,546 for the purchase and installation of LVT for the upcoming Mission El Paso classroom lab building construction project.
Have a second? Second, okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
So the next one is for the Grandfather Classroom Lab edition. So actually, let me read the one first, which is approve a change order to M&K Architects in amount not to exceed $20,000 for additional construction and administration services for the present project. So this one, the architects approaches in the college to explain to us they've really incurred a lot of additional costs, given that the contractual date was basically 12 months. that has shifted all the way to the July 11th, and he's going well into August, and we still need their attention on a lot of those loose items that I was talking about. So, basically, you're talking about a 50%, you're basically talking about a 50% of the original schedule that they were contracted for. Given that's the case, I want you to point out, so hopefully you understand that there are a lot of things that they have to do every week, irrespective if it's 1 year or if it's 18 months. And a lot of this is like attending weekly meetings, evaluating contractor paths, all these activities they have to do once a month, or actually sometimes once a week, for example, the weekly meetings. And sometimes even more than once weekly, because a lot of times they have to go a second, third time to look at something in the field. So, given that the additional percentage of the percentage of the architect's original contract change orders, I took Rio Grande out because it's way out there, you recall, because there's a big scope change. I leveled out the average of change orders for the architects through the course of the projects. So far, that average, with excluding Rio Grande, because otherwise the number would be a lot higher, is 12%. For M&K on Trans Mountain is 2%. So it's a small project, but this is a percentage of the contract amount. So it's a fair comparison, apples to apples. And so, given that, if the board decides that the change orders will be accepted, their fee will be at about 7% of their contract amount. I get that you
Why would
wanted-
we contract them for only a year if the deal was gonna take a year and 8 months?
But we didn't. See, that was part of the issue. At the time, we had the El Paso electric change. There was afterwards, the flooring change was afterwards. There was an additional swale out of concrete. There was 20 days for that. So all things that they really didn't have any.
I'm still having a hard time with 8 months. You're telling me weeks, and now they want an additional 8 months.
No, they wanted 6 months, which
Well,
is.
you just showed me they started the whole year, and then they go to
Yeah, let me
August.
go back.
Go back to your,
Okay.
January to December is 12 months, that's a year.
That's 12 months.
And now they're asking for an additional 8 months.
6 months, because that's where we are right here.
And I'm sorry, they're gonna come back and ask for it all the way up to
No,
August.
I did get there. I got it in writing that this is it.
So I'm having a hard time. Why would we give them 6 months when you're telling me we were only behind on electric for 3 weeks?
Well.
It doesn't
I
it doesn't add up to months, it adds up
Well,
to weeks.
No, again, it's 6 months. Let me show you this slide. I have a hidden slide here that hopefully will help.
I mean, I'm not trying to be hard, I just don't understand.
No,
how-
I totally get it. No, that's not a problem at all. But let me show you this slide. Okay, here. See, this is just not all of the days. But right here, that's the bridge swell was 20 days. So 20 plus 80 days, well, possibly like delay, that's 100 days.
Okay, that's 3 months.
And then you have 82 days for the flooring.
But the floor wasn't our fault.
But it wasn't theirs either.
Well, whose fault was it?
We all, in general, it was the contractors.
Okay.
Because they're the ones who're supposed to deliver. I mean, to me, there's very little implication that the architect had something to do with it. It could be argued, remember they were talking about those joints and all, that joints were in the right place. That to me didn't cause, based on what I hear from in writing from the structural engineer, the main reason was that they waited too long. They were dried up. But one thing you all need to understand is neither the architect or us can tell the contractor what to do. They do that. We can observe, we can comment, but we can't tell them, no, don't pour. The architect couldn't go by the side and says, hey, don't pour this much. They can't. And so, from that standpoint, maybe they had a little bit, maybe they should have warned them more, but in terms of really blaming them for it, no, I don't think that's fair at all.
But who hires a contractor?
The college?
We did.
Directly.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
then it's already.
I'm sure Ruben's keeping a real good little notebook about all these contracts.
You know, part of the challenge, and let me kind of just chime in a little bit. All these architects are issuing a claim to the college. It's not that we're offering money or telling, why don't you charge us more? They're actively asking us for more money, and we're taking that ask, that request, we're analyzing it, we're countering, negotiating, and obviously your staff is in the know of everything. We meet with your staff at least once a week here, where we go over all these issues. And so the claim is there. Again, we try to negotiate it to your benefit. We're your advocate. But when we come here, we try to explain it as objectively as we can.
And you did.
Right.
You came
That's
up-
the idea.
You came up with the 6 months. That's all I asked.
Yeah, no, and so the 6 months is the delays of the project, really.
Okay.
I still
You
don't
sure?
quite understand why 20,208.
Oh, it breaks down to about $3,500 a month, which is the rate they're having for the project.
What happens with the architects, so during construction, services during construction, and there's a slide that you showed, they do services during construction, and some of their work is related to time. As we say, the architects go to the job sites every week for an owner, architect, contractor meeting. They review the pay application every month. They have answered and have pain and suffer just as we all have had with the floor. So that's all relates to time. And that's what they're claiming, that they've spent a whole lot more time on the project than
Well,
they
yeah, but
originally.
isn't that part of what they should have projected on their end?
Well, they have no way of projecting. I mean, if we decided in contractually that the project is gonna be 1 year, they don't buffer, they don't pad that 1 year. At least they shouldn't, right? And because we've already looked at their original fee at the beginning and whatnot. That's what Paulo was trying to do by showing all of the other all of the other architects have charged additional services. And M&K was the one that had charged the least. But now they're coming back and they're saying, the project is complete, basically, it's complete. So they're saying, to make us whole, we're claiming $20,000, and so that's what we're bringing.
What figure did they start with? I mean, because we can't just give them whatever they threw up in the air.
No, they didn't throw it up in the air. There's a written proposal from them that breaks down these expenses, and it basically amounts to about $3,500 a month. If you take the way they did it, which I think it's fair, is they calculated their portion of construction administration, and they said, okay, for 12 months, here what it is, and that's known. That's whenever we do a contract, that amount is known, and I said, okay, let's divide that by 12. It came out to about $3,500 a month. Now there's 6 months. Let's multiply 6 by 3,500.
But you think it's fair only because it's not coming out of your pocket?
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Did you say you had it in writing?
I'm sorry?
Did you say you had it in writing?
Yes, I have
Did
the.
you send that to Dr. Sadaka?
Absolutely. I know at least Ruben's got it, but I certainly could do that. Yeah, certainly.
Are you in agreement, Mr.?
We can table this if you feel comfortable.
No, you
can
table
table
it. I'm ready to vote. You answered my question.
Isn't this similar to when they came and said that they devoted extra engineering time and you authorized them?
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve a consultant change order to
Before we do so-
M&K
Dr. Grant,
Architects.
before we do so, we just have to read the item for the record, please.
Oh,
Item 5.2, Mr. Pettis will request the Board of Trustees to formally approve a consultant change order to M&K Architects Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $20,208.18 for additional construction administration services for the Trans Mountain Classroom Lab Addition construction project.
I move that we accept or approve
5.2.
consultant change order to M&K Architects, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $20,208.18 for additional construction administrative services for the Trans Mountain Classroom Lab Addition construction project.
second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
And any other questions? Do y'all think this was helpful as far as the schedule?
Yes.
Going through the.
I like the little charts, needle things that you put in the
Good,
file.
thank you.
I just want those confidence things a little further.
I know. And I do want you to be happy, but sometimes the news are not necessarily happy, and I certainly don't want to mislead you.
If you take that bar chart that that she likes, and if you can take your little happy face icon and put it on.
An emoji. I
Yeah.
like that.
Judge, is the meeting adjourned?
Yeah. Do you have a motion for adjournment?
So made.
Okay, second.
Need a motion.
All right, all in favor? Aye.